Astrologically, do you see banks, especially private banks, being safe as modes of investment, like keeping FDs in banks? What's your prediction about land investment in 2026 and 2027 in particular?
Based on India's annual charts, I'm not too excited about real estate investments in the coming year, but in the long term,
Do people who still want to invest in gold go ahead and invest?
my assessment is I go by Brihad Samhita when it comes to prices of gold, etc. We don't have any teachings from rishis like Parasara, Bhrigu, etc. So the best authority that we have.
So, do you see silver again, that sudden leap that it got, or do you think it is still trading at this level, or do you see that sudden spike coming back again?
But based on Sun's transit, when Sun is in the 8th house or 12th house from Capricorn and Aries, there can be some setbacks. So they
Hi, this is Preetika Rao. Welcome to the channel that trended astrology podcasts in India and on YouTube. And today I have with me astrologer PVR Narasimha, and this is another part of one of the continuing episodes that we've shot with him. This is going to be specifically about investment in gold, especially in the years 2026 and 27. You can say for the next 2 years, because of all the Saturn and Jupiter transits, and also the chaos that's happening in the world today with the war scenarios. I want to know from you, sir. People are saying that gold can increase, and people who invest in gold can still make profit. Although we saw that gold was, you can say, around 1 lakh about 6 months back, and then it touched 1.80. That's 1,80,000 for 10 grams in India, and then it went back, and it's now somewhere around 1 lakh 50, 53, 54. It's just wavering around that. Do people who still want to invest in gold go ahead and invest?
My assessment is I go by Brihad Samhita when it comes to prices of gold, etc. We don't have any teachings from rishis like Parasara, Bhrigu, etc. So the best authority that we have is Brihad Samhita. Varahamihira gave, I think it's chapter 41, Dravya Nischaya Jhaya. There he talked about different zodiacal signs and different planets who are associated with various materials. And for gold, he mentioned Aries as the main sign that shows gold, and also Capricorn as a secondary sign that shows gold. And he did not he said that Jupiter is the key planet for in general precious metals and particularly for gold, and Sun is the secondary planet. So we can but he said look at all planets. So we can look at transits of various planets with respect to Aries and Capricorn and try to assess whether the time is good for gold or it is bad for gold. And he gave some hints. For example, Jupiter, when he's in the second house, fourth house, fifth house, seventh house, ninth, 10th, and 11th houses from Aries or Capricorn, it is good for gold. And like that, for different grahas, there are different houses. If it is Saturn, if he's in the 3, 6, 10, 11, that is good, other houses are bad. Though he did not mention in history, when I look back, I see that when he's in the 8th house or the 12th house, it is particularly bad. And the thing is, now we are talking about two signs and so many planets. So there are a lot of factors, and you have to balance all those. So it's a bit tricky. But my suggestion is if you just go by Jupiter, that is in general good enough. And one more thing, though this is not mentioned by Varahamihira, one thing I observed is when Jupiter is afflicted by, let's say, Rahu, either aspected by Rahu or exactly conjoined by Rahu very closely, those times, even if Jupiter has a good transit, that should be good for gold, that time can be bad for gold. Similarly, when Jupiter is retrograde, that can have some negative impact on gold. So, keeping all these factors in mind, right now, Jupiter is in Gemini. I mean, he was actually he was earlier in Cancer, but he went back to Gemini. But he's going to be going back to Cancer in late May time period. So the thing is, he's going to be in Gemini and Cancer, and later, if you look at the next couple of years, he'll be Gemini, Cancer, and Leo. And if you look at these signs, Gemini is not particularly good because from Aries it is the third house, and from Capricorn it is the sixth house, so it's not a good transit. But from Aries, Cancer is going to be the fourth house, and it's also the seventh house from Capricorn, which is the secondary house for gold. So when Jupiter is in Cancer, which is from late May, about a year period, this is going to be an awesome period for gold. But one caveat is in late 2026, Ketu is going to come from Leo to Cancer. So there'll be and moreover, Jupiter is in Atichari in general these days. So he'll be moving through three signs in the year. So he will go to Leo. So in either in Cancer or Leo, he comes in close contact with Ketu during this year in the next few months. So that period, be a little careful. That period, gold can come down a little bit when Jupiter is with Ketu. But in general, from a long-term perspective, the next couple of years, from this May till May 2028, is an awesome time for gold. Gold will continue to do well during this period, but based on Sun's transit, when Sun is in the 8th house or 12th house from Capricorn and Aries, there can be some setbacks, so there can be some ups and downs. So my suggestion is, if you want to day trade in gold, is a bad idea. Don't day trade in precious metals. But if you want to buy gold and hold on to it, the next 2 years, I don't see any risk. And here I want to extend this and make another point. See, I have in my any of my public domain knowledge that I shared, either books or posts or videos, I never used Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. But the thing is, though I never mentioned it, acknowledged it publicly, I do use Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto for mundane astrology. These planets were known to our rishis. Vyasa Maharshi, for example, when he talked about planetary position at the time of Mahabharat war, he talked about three grahas, the Sweta Graha, Shyama Graha, and Tikshna Graha, and he referred to Uranus and Neptune and Pluto there, and things line up. And these planets, the thing is, because they move even slower than Saturn and Jupiter, they stay in the same sign for a long time. And to come back to the same sign that they were in your birth chart, it takes many years. So they are not really that relevant in individual astrology when you are looking at individual horoscopes. But when you are looking at trends in the world, trends that stay for 10-year period or 15-year period or 5-year periods, these transits are useful. And in my experience, in my practice, I have seen that Uranus and Neptune Pluto can be used in mundane astrology. And particularly when it comes to these gold, etc., I have seen in the past they do play a role. And my conclusion, though this is not sanctioned by any Shastras, my conclusion is Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are somewhat similar to Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn in their nature. So what I see is the transit of Uranus is very useful for a very long-term trend in terms of gold. Similarly, the transit of Neptune is very useful for very long-term trends in silver, etc. For example, for silver, Varahamihira said that Aquarius is an important sign. Not directly, but indirectly, he suggested Aquarius as the key sign for seeing silver, just like Mesha for gold. So Neptune came into the second house, so exalted in late 2023 or so, and he'll be there for a few years. So this is a super time for silver. Similarly, Uranus in I think May 2024 or so, May 2024 or 2025. In the last year or two, he came into Taurus, and from Aries it is the second house, which is a good house. I'm using the same houses for Jupiter for Uranus also. So he's in the second house from Aries, and he's in the fifth house from Capricorn. So this is an excellent transit of Uranus for gold. So apart from the factor of Jupiter's transit, the transit of Uranus is very favorable. So in general, the period from 2020, second half of 2024 till 2031 or so, this is a superb time for gold from a long-term perspective. It doesn't mean it will just keep going for all these years. It will go up from a long-term perspective, but the long-term curve is modulated by another medium term curve that comes from Jupiter, Saturn, etc. And then another short term curve that comes from other planets like Sun, Mars, etc. So there'll be variations, but the overall, if you take the long term moving average, that will be shooting up from 2024 till 2031 or so. So in my assessment, gold is an excellent long term investment. Even at this high price, people may be thinking that it will come down, but I do think that this is a long term investment for the next several years. Not only next 2 years, but several years.
Okay. And also silver, you're saying, will rise.
For silver, from a long term perspective, the next several years are really good for silver. So, in general, it is a good time for gold, silver, and precious metals for the next few years. And then now, leaving astrology aside, just from a practical perspective, at the times of wars, when there are currency battles and uncertainties with currency, the precious metals tend to do well. So, using that common sense factor, I'm very confident that even though the current wars may have some peace deals in the next few months, this is a period of wars. There will be this Cold War between US and China will keep throwing some war here and there. In general, there will be a growing beat of war in the coming few years. So in general, from that perspective also, precious metals will do really well in the next few years.
Astrologically, do you see banks, especially private banks, being safe as modes of investment, like keeping FDs in banks? Or, there are these rumors that constantly spread that, and private banks are going to collapse. So, don't keep your money in there, keep it in maybe a state associated bank like, SBI. What is your take on something like that?
I haven't studied that deeply, so I don't have a clear opinion. But specifically talking about India, if I see India's annual Tajak Varshphal chart for 2026-2027, which is coming on August 14 of 2026, that annual chart has exalted Jupiter in the second house for India with Lagna Lord. So in general, I don't see a big setback in Indian economy in this year. So whether it's private banks or public banks, in general, the financial system should be fine in India for the next at least 1 year. So I'm not really too concerned about that, but I haven't studied deeply.
Also, mutual funds, would you say the same thing for mutual funds too?
Yes, in general, from long now leaving aside the Tajak Varshphal chart, which is just for 1 year, looking at the long-term chart of India, the current 20-year period, this Hora chart is superb. India's economic rise of India as a top economy in the world will continue. There'll be ups and downs, but overall the long-term moving average will be going up and up. So Indian economy will be doing well, and when economy does well, if you invest in mutual funds and if you invest in things like that, basically which are slow but focused on the long term, it tends to do well. So in general, my assessment is it is good to invest in Indian economy at a gross level in the next few years. And another thing is, compared to US economy, compared to Chinese economy, Indian economy will be the premium economy in terms of the returns for the next 14 years. So in general, if you have long-term investments in Indian economy, it's a very good thing to do.
One question about silver. So silver was about 1,50,000, and then it touched 4 lakhs. It was 1,50,000 for 1 kg, and this was around September 2025, and then it suddenly touched 4 lakhs about 2 months back. So do you see silver again, that sudden leap that it got, or do you still see it trading at this level, or do you see that sudden spike coming back again?
I see it trading at this level now, but about 6 months from now, when Venus will be in Libra, there'll be a big boost to silver. Venus transit in Libra.
6 months from today.
But overall, my suggestion is, instead of day trading in gold and silver, if you invest in them and hold on to those investments, you will have huge returns in the next 5 6 years.
Is it? Or okay.
That is my assessment.
Okay. What about land? Do you see any, because land is also connected to Mars, and I've put this question in my podcast before. in Hindi to an astrologer. What's your prediction about land investment in 2026 and 2027 in particular?
Based on India's annual charts, I'm not too excited about real estate investments in the coming year. There can be some slowdown or stabilization real estate. But in the long term, India's real estate will continue to do well, particularly late 2027, 2028. That period will be really good for Indian real estate. But the coming year or so can be a little slow and are just stabilizing, not really falling, but stabilizing period for Indian real estate.
And what about the world?
For the world, it's tough to say. Let's stick to India.
Let's stick to India. All right. So, thank you so much, Narsimha for your precious time and for giving us your astrological insight into investment. And let's keep this straight that these are purely astrological predictions. So, and also individual horoscopes and your Mahadasha and your Antardashas all matter. They matter too. So, if you want to like really seriously invest looking at astrology, then it's always better to consult an astrologer. Otherwise, we are doing astrology based on the horoscope of a country and the destiny for a country. And yes, on that note, this channel trended astrology podcasts in India, and on YouTube you can subscribe to my channel right now so that you get latest updates. I only interview the best gurus of astrology, and I am on Instagram. I'm Preetika Pre on Instagram, so you can follow me. Lots of love and thank you, Narasimha Rao ji.
Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.